until a mysterious millionaire lifted her. The autumn afternoon sun cast long shadows across the busy downtown street, where people hurried past with their heads down, focused on their own destinations. The air carried the crisp promise of winter, and fallen leaves danced in small whirlwinds along the sidewalk. In this sea of motion and purpose, Sarah Mitchell walked slowly, her steps careful and measured. At 23, Sarah had learned that life rarely offered the fairy tale endings she had once believed in. Her arms cradled her 3-week-old daughter, Lucy, wrapped in a soft pink blanket that had been a gift from the hospital nurses. It was one of the few new things Lucy owned. Everything else had come from charity organizations or secondhand stores, purchased with the last of Sarah's savings. Sarah paused outside the employment agency, gathering her courage. Through the glass windows, she could see people in business suits sitting at desks, their conversations muffled but urgent. This was her 4th stop today, searching for any work that might allow her to bring Lucy along. The other agencies had turned her away the moment they saw the baby in her arms. The weight of Lucy seemed to grow heavier with each rejection, not because of the physical burden, but because of what each no represented. Another door closing, another opportunity slipping away, another step closer to the impossible choice between providing for her daughter and caring for her personally. Sarah had been living in a small efficiency apartment, but the rent was due tomorrow, and she was $40 short. The landlord, Mr. Peterson, had already given her 2 extensions. His patience, like her savings, had run out. Tonight might be their last night with a roof over their heads. She pushed open the door to the employment agency, the small bell above, chiming softly. The receptionist, a woman in her 50s with kind eyes, looked up from her computer screen. Sarah approached the desk, Lucy still sleeping peacefully in her arms. "Excuse me," Sarah said quietly. "I'm looking for work. Something I could do with my baby, maybe data entry from home, or cleaning offices after hours when I could bring her with me." The receptionist's expression softened, but Sarah recognized the look. It was the same sympathetic expression she had seen all day, the one that came right before the polite rejection. "I'm sorry, honey," the woman said gently. "We don't have any positions that would accommodate a baby. Insurance regulations, you understand. Have you tried the social services office on 3rd Street? Sarah nodded, though she hadn't. The thought of navigating the welfare system terrified her almost as much as the thought of being homeless. She had grown up watching her own mother struggle with the bureaucracy, the endless forms, the judgment in people's eyes when they paid for groceries with food stamps. "Thank you anyway," Sarah whispered, turning toward the door. As she stepped back onto the sidewalk, a wave of dizziness washed over her. She hadn't eaten since yesterday morning, having given her last can of soup to her neighbor, Mrs. Chen, whose own cupboards were bare. The lack of food, combined with the stress of the past few weeks and the sleepless nights that came with caring for a newborn, had taken their toll. Sarah leaned against the brick wall of the building, trying to steady herself. Lucy stirred in, her arms, making the soft sounds that meant she would need to be fed soon. Sarah looked down at her daughter's peaceful face and felt a familiar mixture of overwhelming love and desperate fear. The dizziness intensified, and Sarah felt her knees begin to buckle. She clutched Lucy tighter, trying to protect her even as her own strength failed. The world began to tilt, and she found herself sinking toward the sidewalk, her back sliding down the rough brick wall. People walked past, their footsteps creating a rhythm on the concrete. A businessman, talking loudly on his phone, stepped around her without a glance. A woman with shopping bags hurried by, her heels clicking urgently. A group of teenagers laughed as they passed, absorbed in their own conversation. Sarah sat on the cold sidewalk, Lucy still secure in her arms, and felt more alone than she ever had in her life. Tears began to fall, not from self-pity, but from the crushing weight of responsibility she carried for this tiny life that depended on her completely. You all right?" The voice was deep, concerned, and surprisingly gentle. Sarah looked up to see a man crouching beside her. He was tall and well-dressed, probably in his early 50s, with kind gray eyes and silver hair. Despite his expensive suit and polished shoes, there was nothing intimidating about his presence. I'm fine," Sarah stammered, though they both knew it wasn't true. "Just resting for a moment." The man studied her face, taking in the exhaustion, the fear, and the fierce protectiveness with which she held her baby. "When did you last eat?" he asked quietly. The question was asked without judgment, and something in his tone made Sarah's careful walls crumble. "Yesterday morning," she admitted. Without hesitation, the man stood and extended his hand. "My name is Marcus Wellington, and I think you and your baby need some help." Sarah recognized the name. Marcus Wellington was a local real estate mogul, his picture often in the newspaper business section. But the man standing before her bore no resemblance to the cold, distant figure she had imagined. His eyes held genuine concern, and his outstretched hand offered help without conditions. "I don't take charity," Sarah said, though her voice lacked conviction. "This isn't charity," Marcus replied. "This is one person helping another, and right now you need help so you can take care of your daughter. There's no shame in accepting it." Sarah looked down at Lucy, who was beginning to fuss, hungry and sensing her mother's distress. Making a decision that would change both their lives, Sarah took Marcus's hand and allowed him to help her to her feet. "There's a cafe around the corner," Marcus said. "Let's get you something to eat, and then we can figure out what comes next." The cafe was warm and welcoming, with soft jazz playing in the background and the comfortable hum of quiet conversation. Marcus guided Sarah to a corner booth and ordered soup, sandwiches, and tea without asking what she wanted. His certainty was comforting rather than presumptuous. As Sarah ate, slowly at first and then with increasing appetite, she found herself sharing her story. She told Marcus about losing her job when her pregnancy began to show, about the father who had disappeared when he learned about the baby, about the mounting bills and the impossible choices she faced every day. Marcus listened without interrupting, his attention focused completely on her words. When she finished, he was quiet for a long moment, sipping his coffee thoughtfully. "I have a proposition," he said finally. "I own several properties around the city, and I've been looking for someone to manage them. It would involve showing apartments to potential tenants, handling maintenance requests, that sort of thing. The hours would be flexible, and there's a small apartment that comes with the job. You could work from there and keep Lucy with you." Sarah felt her heart skip. "Why?" she whispered. "Why would you help me?" Marcus was quiet for a moment, his eyes distant. "I had a daughter once," he said softly. "She died when she was very young. Cancer. I've spent the last 20 years building a business empire, but I never found a way to fill the hole her death left behind. Maybe helping you and Lucy won't fill it completely, but it might make it smaller." Tears welled up in Sarah's eyes, but for the first time in weeks, they were tears of hope rather than despair. "I don't know what to say." "Say yes," Marcus replied, with a gentle smile. "Say you'll let me help you build a better life for your daughter." 6 months later, Sarah stood in the window of her cozy apartment above the property management office, watching Lucy sleep in her crib. The baby had grown strong and healthy, her cheeks round and pink, her sleep peaceful and untroubled. The work suited Sarah perfectly. She had discovered a talent for dealing with people and had already increased occupancy in Marcus's buildings by 15%. More importantly, she had found something she had never expected: a father figure for Lucy and a true friend for herself. Marcus visited regularly, always with some excuse about business, but really to check on them and to hold Lucy while Sarah worked. He had installed a playground in the courtyard behind the building, claiming it would attract families, but Sarah knew it was really for Lucy's future. As Sarah tucked Lucy's blanket around her sleeping form, she reflected on how dramatically their lives had changed. That day on the sidewalk, when she had felt most alone and desperate, had been the beginning of something beautiful. Sometimes, she thought, guardian angels came disguised as mysterious millionaires with kind eyes and generous hearts. The autumn. Wind rustled the leaves outside her window, and Sarah smiled, knowing that whatever challenges lay ahead, she and Lucy would face them together, with Marcus's support and friendship lighting their way.